Our planet is facing a water crisis. Rivers, the lifeblood of our world, are drying up. This crisis affects millions worldwide, jeopardizing ecosystems, economies, and our very existence. Understanding the causes and implications of this crisis is paramount if we want to safeguard our planet's future. Across the globe, rivers are experiencing a decline in their water levels. The once mighty rivers that have sustained civilizations for millennia are now shadows of their former selves. The Nile, the longest river in the world, is facing unprecedented challenges due to drought and increased water demand. The Yangtze, Asia's longest river, is grappling with pollution and the impacts of climate change. Europe's Danube River, a vital waterway for trade and transportation, is experiencing record-low water levels, disrupting navigation and impacting industries. The retreat of rivers is a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of our planet. The Nile River, a symbol of life and resilience, is facing an unprecedented crisis. Flowing for over 6,650 kilometers, it is the longest river in the world, a lifeline for 11 countries in northeastern Africa. For millennia, the Nile's annual floods have sustained civilizations, providing fertile land for agriculture and shaping the course of history. However, this iconic river is now grappling with the consequences of human activities and climate change. The Nile Basin is home to a rapidly increasing population, with over 250 million people directly dependent on the river for their livelihoods. As populations grow, so too does the demand for water for agriculture, industry, and domestic use. Climate change is exacerbating the situation, contributing to more frequent and severe droughts in the Nile Basin. The glaciers that feed the Nile's headwaters are melting at alarming rates, further impacting the river's flow. The cumulative effects of these factors are creating a perfect storm, jeopardizing the delicate balance of the Nile ecosystem and the lives of millions who depend on it. The Nile Delta, a fertile expanse of land where the river meets the Mediterranean Sea, is facing particularly severe challenges. As the Nile's flow diminishes, saltwater intrusion from the Mediterranean is pushing further inland, contaminating groundwater and threatening agriculture. The delta's fertile soil, once replenished by the Nile's annual floods, is becoming increasingly saline and infertile. This is leading to reduced agricultural productivity, threatening the livelihoods of millions of farmers and jeopardizing food security in the region. The situation is particularly dire in coastal areas, where rising sea levels are eroding shorelines and displacing communities. The Nile Delta is home to a rich biodiversity of plants and animals, many of which are endemic to the region. The shrinking freshwater habitats and increasing salinity are threatening the survival of these species, pushing some to the brink of extinction. The growing demand for water in the Nile Basin is a major driver of the river's decline. Agriculture, which accounts for the vast majority of water withdrawals in the basin, is under particular pressure to increase production to feed growing populations. However, current agricultural practices are often inefficient and unsustainable, leading to water waste and environmental degradation. Industrial activities, particularly in rapidly developing countries like Ethiopia, are also placing increasing demands on the Nile's water resources. Factories and power plants require significant amounts of water for cooling and production processes. As these industries expand, so too does their water footprint, further straining the river's capacity to meet the needs of all users. Providing clean and safe water to growing urban populations is essential, but it also adds to the overall pressure on the Nile's water resources. The Yangtze River, Asia's longest and the world's third longest river, is a force of nature that has shaped the destiny of China for millennia. Flowing for over 6,300 kilometers or 3,900 miles from the Tibetan Plateau to the East China Sea, it is a lifeline for hundreds of millions of people. The Yangtze Basin is a cradle of Chinese civilization, a region of immense cultural and economic significance. Yet, this iconic river, once teeming with life and a symbol of China's enduring spirit, is facing unprecedented challenges. The river's health has deteriorated significantly in recent decades, with alarming consequences for the environment and the livelihoods of those who depend on it. The once abundant fisheries have dwindled, the water quality has declined, and the river's ability to support life is being severely tested. The river basin is home to over 400 million people, nearly a third of China's population. This intense economic activity has taken a heavy toll on the river, transforming it from a source of life into a dumping ground for industrial waste, agricultural runoff, and untreated sewage. Pollution is arguably the most pressing threat facing the Yangtze River. Decades of rapid industrialization and urbanization have left a toxic legacy, with the river serving as a convenient dumping ground for a cocktail of pollutants. Industrial wastewater, often laden with heavy metals, chemicals, and other toxins, is discharged directly into the river, often with little or no treatment. Agricultural runoff carrying fertilizers, pesticides, and animal waste further contaminates the water, creating a toxic soup that is lethal to aquatic life and poses a serious threat to human health. According to some estimates, over 25 billion tons of wastewater are discharged into the Yangtze each year, making it one of the most polluted rivers in the world. Fish stocks have plummeted, with many species becoming unsafe for human consumption due to high levels of toxins. Climate change is exacerbating the challenges facing the Yangtze River, adding a new layer of complexity to an already dire situation. Rising temperatures, altered precipitation patterns, and more frequent extreme weather events are all impacting the river's flow, water quality, and ecosystems. The glaciers that feed the Yangtze's headwaters are melting at an alarming rate, threatening to disrupt the river's flow and reduce water availability in the future. The Yangtze Basin is experiencing more frequent and severe droughts, which are putting a strain on water resources and impacting agricultural production. At the same time, more intense rainfall is leading to more frequent and severe flooding, causing widespread damage and displacement. The Danube River, often referred to as Europe's Blue Artery, is a testament to the continent's interconnectedness. Winding its way through the heart of Europe, it traverses 10 countries, connecting diverse cultures and economies. For centuries, the Danube has served as a vital waterway for trade, transportation, and irrigation, its waters nourishing fertile plains and bustling cities. However, this iconic river, once a symbol of unity and prosperity, is facing an unprecedented crisis. It is running dry. Climate change, coupled with unsustainable water management practices, has cast a shadow over the Danube's future. The sight of the emaciated Danube serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of our natural world and the urgent need for action. For centuries, the Danube has been a vital artery for trade and transportation, connecting the heart of Europe to the Black Sea and beyond. Barges laden with grain, coal, iron ore, and manufactured goods have plied its waters, facilitating economic growth and cultural exchange. However, the river's declining water levels are turning this once reliable trade route into a logistical nightmare, threatening to stall the economic engine of a continent. The low water levels make it impossible for large vessels to navigate the Danube fully laden, forcing them to reduce their cargo or, in some cases, abandon their journeys altogether. This disruption to river transportation is causing delays, increasing shipping costs, and impacting industries across Europe. Factories are facing shortages of raw materials, while consumers are seeing prices rise for essential goods. The Danube's plight is a stark reminder of the vulnerability of our globalized world, where disruptions to transportation networks can have far-reaching economic consequences. The Danube's declining water levels are not just an economic and environmental crisis, they also pose a significant threat to human health and well-being. As the river shrinks, so too does its ability to dilute and flush away pollutants, leading to a deterioration in water quality. This poses a risk to the millions of people who rely on the Danube for drinking water, particularly in communities that lack access to advanced water treatment facilities. The increased concentration of pollutants in the Danube is also a concern for wildlife, further threatening the river's already fragile ecosystem. Fish, birds, and other animals that depend on the river for their survival are exposed to higher levels of toxins, leading to health problems, reproductive issues, and even death. The Danube is deeply woven into the cultural fabric of Europe, and its decline represents a loss not just of a natural resource, but also of a vital part of the continent's identity. The Colorado River, a lifeline for the American Southwest, is a river on life support. For millennia, its waters have carved canyons and supported life. Today, it's a shadow of its former self, reduced by overuse and climate change. The river supports 7 states and parts of Mexico. Over 40 million people depend on it. Its waters are diverted and dammed for cities, crops, and power. This unsustainable approach has dire consequences for the environment. The shrinking snowpack in the Rockies further reduces water availability. The Colorado River's current crisis is rooted in a century of overallocation, a legacy of ambitious engineering projects and optimistic projections that have left the river stretched thin. In 1922, the Colorado River Compact, a landmark agreement among the 7 basin states, divided the river's water, allocating a fixed amount to each state based on their perceived needs at the time. However, the compact was based on flawed data, overestimating the river's flow, and failing to account for the impacts of climate change and population growth. The Colorado River Compact paved the way for the construction of a series of massive dams and reservoirs, including the Hoover Dam and Lake Mead, which tamed the river's flow and provided water for agriculture, industry, and growing cities. The Colorado's water was overallocated, with more water promised to users than the river could sustainably provide. As populations grew and demands increased, the river's flow dwindled, leaving reservoirs depleted and ecosystems struggling. The Colorado River's decline is forcing the American Southwest to confront an uncomfortable truth. The era of abundant water is over. The region is facing a future of chronic water shortages, with profound implications for its people, its economy, and its environment. The arid West, long defined by its ability to extract and utilize water, must now adapt to a new reality, one that demands conservation, innovation, and a fundamental shift in how we think about water. Farmers, who use the majority of the river's water, are facing cutbacks, forcing them to fallow fields, switch to less water-intensive crops, or abandon agriculture altogether. Cities, facing dwindling supplies, are implementing water restrictions, investing in conservation measures, and exploring alternative sources of water, such as desalination and wastewater recycling. The river's delta, once a lush wetland teeming with life, has been reduced to a trickle, its ecosystem decimated by the lack of fresh water flow. Fish populations have plummeted, migratory bird habitats have disappeared, and the river's ability to support life has been severely compromised. The stories of the Nile, the Yangtze, the Danube, and the Colorado illustrate a global water crisis. Rivers face unprecedented challenges from human activities and climate change. The consequences threaten billions, ecosystems, and global stability. The time for complacency is long past. We must act now to protect our rivers and ensure a water-secure future. Building a water-resilient future requires a fundamental shift in how we manage and value water resources. We must move away from the unsustainable practices of the past, which have treated rivers as limitless resources, and embrace a more holistic and integrated approach that recognizes the interconnectedness of water, energy, food security, and ecosystem health. One crucial step is to promote water conservation and efficiency in all sectors. This includes reducing water waste in agriculture, industry, and households, investing in water-efficient technologies, and implementing policies that incentivize conservation. By using water more efficiently, we can stretch existing supplies and reduce the strain on our rivers. Another essential strategy is to invest in natural infrastructure, such as wetlands, forests, and floodplains, which play a vital role in regulating water cycles, filtering pollutants, and mitigating the impacts of floods and droughts. Protecting and restoring these natural systems can enhance water security, improve ecosystem health, and provide a range of other benefits. The future of our planet's rivers depends on our collective action. It's a shared responsibility for everyone. Reduce your water footprint and support sustainable practices. Advocate for water protection policies. Educate yourself and others. Be mindful of daily water use. Businesses must invest in sustainable technologies. Governments should enact water conservation policies. International cooperation is essential. The time for action is now.